Glenn Clark Radio, talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
I feel confident a little bit because of that, and also because I feel like we're in a better place than we were last year. You know, last year there were some real challenges, you know, and we were able to get those things turned around and fixed. And I talk about the defensive staff and Zach, you know, that was impressive. And I feel like these things that you're seeing right now are more fixable even. So after, you know, watching it, like, it's still frustrating, and, you know, you put 5 or 6, you know, rookies out there and at one time, and this happens or that happens. But a lot of times, like, that happens in defensive football. A lot of times plays get made to overcome that, and it doesn't really affect you. So it's nothing's really perfect, but we've been forced to be a little bit perfect. And so, you know, we've got to get veterans back on the field. We got to find a way to create plays, manufacture pressure, get some tip balls, get some balls batted, you know, step in front of some passes and get some picks, put pressure on the offense more than we have. And that's what we've got to be going for with the players that we put out there and then the schemes that we come up with. It goes back to this player and scheme conversation. It both goes hand in hand that way.
It's Ravens head coach John Harbaugh yesterday with a really kind of strange answer to me. This is Glenn Clark Radio, Tuesday edition of the program. I'm Glenn, he's Griffin. And strange because it feels like he's venting in there a little bit about maybe what happened last year and why maybe we don't understand how difficult it was. And I don't know if that's him, you know, particularly trying to throw a couple of veterans under the bus that maybe he thought made life miserable for everybody. It's such a weird answer to suggest it's more difficult this year than last year, and it comes off either as hubris, right? Like, oh, we've done it. And as you know, this is just about the injuries. And we're going to get a bunch of guys. And I'm trying to figure out what the line is between hubris and whether or not there is something legitimate about what John Harbaugh is saying. And it's a difficult line to walk because inevitably we all believe that things would be better with Kyle Hamilton on the field, which might be as soon as this week, with Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey presumably on the field, Chidobe Awuzie. We do think things would be better with those guys on the field, but how much better? Because we all saw what it looked like against the Lions. That even if you want to say some of what happened against the Chiefs was that these guys started to go down during the game, like, it didn't look good before they were all hurt, but like, you can say it got obviously much worse when they started to go down. You're asking us to pretend like these problems weren't overwhelming against the Lions. And what isn't changing is, I mean, I guess you're going to get Broderick Washington back at some point, but not Sunday, not this Sunday. You got gashed up front. This isn't an injury thing up front. I mean, it is in that Nnamdi Madubuike isn't there, but you're not getting him back. What is fixing the front, even if you want to believe that it can be better on the back end? What is fixing that? And to say, well, it's not as difficult as it was last year, okay. Maybe there's somewhere in there where he feels like he's telling the truth, which is like, you guys don't understand how hard it was when, I don't know, maybe we thought we were going to fire the defensive coordinator. We had to bring in Dean Pease, and we had to figure out what that looked like and who's – maybe there's stuff in there where he's trying to let us on to how difficult it was last year that we didn't know. And I'm not willing to say that's not true. It might very well be true. We don't know. But to pretend like this is – or to say this one's going to be easier, like what – based on effing what?
That they've done it before? I don't know. Yeah,
but again, you would have to make it clear how difficult it was. Like, again, they would have to lay out.
Well, they got Darius Washington coming back, maybe.
What's that?
Or Darius Washington, maybe he's coming back.
He'll come back.
He can play D-line.
Yeah, that'll help. Like, this is the. I'm starting to wonder if our Darius Washington might be underpaid. Might be the most important player the Ravens have ever had defensively. That's what makes that answer so strange, is you're trying to figure out, and again, it's possible it's just hubris. It's nothing other than, well, we've done it before, so we're going to do it again. Maybe. But, eek. Bo's going to join us in a minute. Bo Smolka, PressBox Ravens beat writer. And we're going to talk about some of the other things John Harbaugh had to say yesterday. Later on in the show, Joe Serpico, PressBox Fantasy Football Analyst, will preview Waiver Wire Wednesday, talk about Hassan Haskins, among other options. And also...
I'm going to be Team Kamani Vidal, I think.
Oh, yeah? That's where you're going to throw all your...
Yep.
Okay, well, you're going to feel really silly when they bring back Gus Edwards. And
yeah, right.
We all wasted our... And then we'll also we're going to continue our series reflecting on 30 years of Ravens football with members of the inaugural team. The first ever Ravens defensive coordinator, the great Marvin Lewis, will join us a little bit later on. All that coming up on the program today. I do want to spend a minute. I think people are being made aware via social media about the passing of Captain Defense. And what an interesting life Wes Henson lived, right? Like, what a fascinating character Wes was. And I had a lot of opportunities to spend time with Wes at events and back at the old radio station. He actually just came on some of our road trips just to come on them. Like, he wasn't there to be Captain Defense, although he was. Like, he dressed the part. He was just there because he wanted to go on the road for games, and he came with us. And I really love the guy. And it was always interesting to me how much joy he had in being Captain Defense. And I know sometimes we have fun with, like, super fans, and we poke fun at them, but Captain Defense, Wes, was someone who, whether it was because he believed he had an obligation to, or I really genuinely believe it was just because of the joy he got out of it, he got so much joy out of the fact that people liked having him around. And whether that was going to see sick kids and trying to lift them up, or, he was acting as this, like, sort of pseudo mascot for the Baltimore Ravens. And while he never was officially involved with the club, he became this kind of local celebrity just because of the costume that he wore, and really because of how kind he was. Because he would just take time to go to your event if you asked. I mean, he never really even wanted to be paid. He just wanted to be Captain Defense. He just wanted to be there and to be part of things. And was a special person in that way. Like, again, away from whatever your thoughts are about super fans, and some of them certainly can be a little off. Wes was almost the antithesis of that. It was never like, I think I'm important. I like that you want me around. I like that you get a kick out of me being here. And so I want to be there. I want to be part of it. I want to hang out, and I want to be at your events. And he was just a special person, man. He was just a really, really special person. And I don't know what what can we do on Sunday to celebrate Captain Defense? This comes off of the heels of the devastating loss of Arthur Jones last week. Like, what's something? I hope the Ravens will do something, because he really was a special human being. So safe home to Captain Defense, Wes Henson, who has passed away this weekend. His family announced on social media. We're going to chat with Bo Smolka here. I want to set it up by hearing a little bit more from John Harbaugh and a question that Bo asked yesterday about perhaps changes that could be coming.
John, you just said decisions have to be made. Are you talking about personnel lineup changes decisions, or what kind of decisions?
Yeah, well, I talk about everything. I mean, I got a long list. Based on how the game went. I can tell you that. There's a long list, all three phases, but it starts with that for sure. You look at how guys did and where guys are at and what you need to do and who else might need an opportunity, and a lot of that's with the injuries too. I mean, getting guys back, that'll take some pressure off some guys that were thrown into a tough spot, did their best, and they'll grow from it. And then scheme-wise too, there's a lot of scheme stuff we have to look at. A lot of scheme stuff on all three sides. A lot of scheme stuff offensively, some scheme stuff defensively as well, that we got to continue to evolve and tweak and get better at, that we can improve upon, I think. And it's nothing that is not good, but, there's things that we just got to look at and say, we got to find some different ways to put our guys in some spots to be able to make some plays. That's something we've got to try to manufacture some things, and that's what coaches always need to do. You need to find a way to manufacture some success for your guys as much as you can with scheme. So that's a big part of it too.
That's John Harbaugh yesterday. Let's bring in PressBox Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka. Bo, this seems to be the first time that John has been willing to embrace the idea of actual changes. It doesn't appear right now as though it's going to be coaching staff changes. What do you think might be practical change-wise going into Sunday?
I mean, the thing is, there may only be so many options there, right? Because, for example, in the defensive secondary, if the same people are absent that were not available this past Sunday, then there's no other players they can switch in and out. I mean, they have maybe one defensive back on the practice squad. I think it's possible he's making reference to the offensive line. Maybe they try Corey Bullock at one of the guard spots. Maybe they try Ben Cleveland at one of the guard spots. But again, if Ronnie Stanley's not playing, then you're already down to your backup at tackle, and I don't think they're ready to put Carson Vincent in there as a tackle. Maybe one of the guard spots changes. I don't think it's out of the question that they look at Tyler Huntley to play quarterback instead of Cooper Rush. And John Harbaugh was asked that specific question later, and he basically answered by saying, hey, everything's on the table. So, again, there's just no – but at some positions – they're out of options, and
right.
So there's only a few personnel spots. Again, if all the players that were absent remain absent, then there's only so many places you can possibly switch.
I almost wonder, Bo, if it's like it's maybe something bigger than that or broader than that. Like he's alluding to what might come, like that at some point they might literally be at the place of we might have to consider street free agents over the guys that we have in certain spots. Like that if it's that, how maybe he's just so frustrated by what it is that he's seeing that he's alluding to the idea that, like, to your point, maybe there aren't options here, but we're going to get pretty close to the place where anything is a better option than what we're doing.
I mean, that's certainly a possibility, and they will look at street free agents. They brought in Josh Bynes about this time one year.
Yeah.
And, and I think they would absolutely look at street free agents, especially the inside linebacker, because I don't think they're happy with the play there at all. And so, but again, if people are on the street now, they're on the street for a reason.
100%.
And if they're on the street, how quickly are they going to come in here and play? And I think Josh Bynes came in and played fairly quickly.
And wasn't the same year? Wasn't LJ Fort the same year?
I believe you're right about that. I'd have to go back and check. But yeah, right. So that's probably the caliber of what, the level you're looking at here. I mean, if they were, most of the good players are already taken. So, but again, I think he's right about that. Options are all on the table, and they try out people all around the year. I mean, all the time they're trying out players, and Eric DeCosta has lists at probably every position. But they have to look at this right now and say that what they thought in terms of the depth of this team is not nearly as good as they thought. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And I think, myself included, I think we're all guilty of giving them too much credit for building up how deep their roster was.
Yeah.
Because the lack of depth was exposed badly. And you could argue, well, maybe you can get away without Kyle Hamilton if you have all the other defensive players, or maybe you can get away with two of them. But losing 6 or 7 Pro Bowl players for the same game, you're asking basically the Ravens' second team and third team defense to beat Houston starters, and they just couldn't do it. They couldn't come close to doing it. So it was, as I wrote on Sunday, maybe this was just a stress point too far with that number of quality players out. But there's no question what they touted as the depth of their roster is just not that deep.
To your point about inside linebacker, of course, we know they brought in Eric Hendricks for a visit and tried to sign to the practice squad, and he said, "Nah, I'm good." So I wonder if maybe that might be in play again moving forward. Bo, if it's John obviously continues to be defensive of Zach Orr and the coaches. I think a lot of people have wondered if that is more of a, hey, we're just not going to consider it right now. There's a bye week coming. And if this is as bad as it's been this coming Sunday, is there a point at which there's almost no choice? What do you make of how defensive he is of Zach Orr when we all have eyes? Like to pretend like it's just the injuries is beyond the pale. Like that's gaslighting. It's not just the injuries. You're not getting Nnamdi Madubuike back, and you got gashed with those guys up front against the Lions. The edge rush, these are your guys, and it's non-existent. It's embarrassing how non-existent it is. I'm not trying to lose my mind about this, but it feels like at some point this has to come to a head.
Well, I think you're probably right, and yes, he's been defensive of Zach Orr. I do think he sees him as a bright young coach, but I will also say that John Harbaugh frequently says, this is a results-based business. It's a meritocracy, and it's a results-based business. And at some point, if the results aren't there, then changes have to happen. And Steve Bisciotti would probably require it as well. And Steve Bisciotti is a guy that very strongly stresses continuity in the organization. And that's one reason why they have so many people here for so long. But to your point, it's clearly not working. And if they were to get blown out again at home by Los Angeles going into the bye week, I think it would be very hard for the Ravens to stand pat and make no changes. Whether that's Bisciotti demanding them, whether it's John Harbaugh finally kind of acquiescing and saying something has to give here. When they made offensive coordinator changes mid-season in the past, that offense didn't look as bad as this defense has looked lately.
Right.
So that's an interesting dynamic. It's just, and you're right. I mean, Travis Jones hasn't been the player that we thought we would see. When Madubuike went down, well, you still have Travis Jones inside, and I think he's been dealing with an injury. I know he's been dealing with a knee injury, and he didn't play the one game, and I don't think he's 100%. The inside linebackers have not been as good as they thought they were going to be, and I know Teddy Buchanan's a rookie, so there's learning to happen there. But these other defensive backs, I mean, they just haven't. The backups aren't producing. I mean, at every level of the defense, there's problems.
I don't know that any of them are as big as the edge rush, though, Bo. Like this is again, these are the guys. Like they're there, and
yeah, I mean, I've been waiting. We talked about this last week. I think the Eric DeCosta and everyone has. I mean, Adafeowe has been a non-factor.
Nothing.
And he's on a $13 million 5-year option. He had one assisted tackle in the game the other day, and I mean, he's just not getting there. And you talk about getting close, talk about affecting the quarterback, getting him off his spot, and all that, but he's just not producing. And consistently, you're right. The edge rush, and John said yesterday, he even said it. The edge rush pass rush is not nearly where it needs to be. Everyone can see that. So, yeah, you have to ask why that's happening. You have to sit down with Chuck Smith and say, why is this? What's happening? You're the pass rush coordinator. What's going on here? What can we do? What differently? Why is it as it is? So, as John said, that might be related to when he mentioned scheme and things like that. But there's obviously enough frustration and enough shortcoming to go around that if they get embarrassed at home again going into the bye, I think there will have to be some changes.
Bo Smolka with us here on GCR. Bo, you bring up the possibility of Tyler Huntley. I think we all know that Tyler Huntley can't throw the ball the way that you need to in order to be an NFL quarterback, but is the thought maybe that you have to get the run game going, and in order to get the run game going with an offensive line struggling this bad, you're going to need a quarterback that has the threat of running, and they've got to pay attention to it sounds crazy to me, the idea of turning back to Tyler Huntley, because we just know the limitations, but I do wonder if you're just sort of openly acknowledging, like, we can't do the things that we would need to do in order to be able to win with Cooper Rush and trying to throw the ball, so we're almost going to have to gimmick it up a little bit to have a chance.
I'm not saying they will make that change. I'm just saying, he was asked specifically, he didn't rule it out. He didn't declare definitively that Rush is going to start again this week. And it's possible maybe Tyler Huntley comes in on some plays and not as a spot player. But they obviously have to do something to get the run game going. And again, is that a matter of changing up offensive linemen? Is it a matter of changing? But, I mean, when Derrick Henry's getting hit before he gets to the line of scrimmage, and I know the Keaton Rush crowd or the Keaton Mitchell crowd has been clamoring for him to play, but he looked a little tentative as a runner and as a kick returner. He had the one jet sweeper, but I mean, he didn't come in and provide that instant juice that people expected. Maybe he can, but he didn't in that game. But they've got. I don't mind them trying it because, as you said, they got to get something going. At one point, they lined up LeJohntay Wester out wide, and he came on a fake jet sweep, and that ended up, if I remember right, that might have been one of their longer runs, which was like 5 yards, because they got it was a different look, and Wester came across the formation, and it looked like the defense had eyes on him, and then the run went the other way, and I think it was moderately successful. But to your point, I mean, they've got to do stuff to get the run game going, and maybe it's changing up the offensive lineman. Maybe it's getting Huntley in on some looks. You're right that I think Huntley as a passer is limited, but they're trying to, as I said, on offense as well as on defense, they are searching right now.
Bo, everybody's a body language expert right now around town. Everybody thinks that these are bigger problems than just and I'm sort of the opinion that it's a chicken and the egg thing. Like, I don't think the body language is what causes the problems. I think the problems are what causes the body language, right? Like, I think when you're getting your ass kicked, nobody's going to be happy and nobody's going to look like they're having a good time, and you're going to get a lot of this. People will question, has this coaching staff lost the locker room? And I think all of these things are fine to ask when you're 1-4. Like, I don't know that there is an inappropriate question to ask when a team is sitting at 1-4. But I am still in a weird place where, as bad as it is, and even if they were to get their butts kicked again on Sunday, if they get Lamar Jackson back after the bye, like, I can't write off the fact that I just don't think I don't think they're out of it. I mean, it's a bizarre scenario for me where, as bad as it is, I may be too practical here, and I still think they have a chance if they have Lamar Jackson to be competitive. Obviously, the defense has to be something other than the worst defense maybe in the history of football.
Well, I mean, the schedule becomes more forgiving for sure, and you've also got a Cincinnati team that isn't anything like they thought it would be. So we'll see what the Steelers do, but in the big picture, it looks like the AFC North, for usually being one of the most ferocious divisions in the league, is very winnable with a flawed team this year. And so that certainly keeps them in the mix. They have a chance with the schedule over the next 6 to 7 weeks, or really out maybe 10 weeks, including the 2 games with Cincinnati. Yeah, if they get Lamar Jackson back, suddenly they do have a chance to get something going. But to your point, I mean, if the defense is going to play like it's playing, then Lamar Jackson would need to be practically perfect.
Right.
And I said that about Cooper Rush. I mean, Cooper Rush wasn't great. He threw the 3 interceptions. When the other team scores every time they have the ball, which the Texans did until they took C.J. Stroud out of the game, you give your quarterback 0 and the offense 0 margin for error. You have to be almost perfect. So, and that's obviously a really high standard. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's true. I think a lot of people view it as Lamar Jackson comes back, this team can compete, and I think it's probably true. But let's face it, there were flaws kind of appeared to be there before Lamar Jackson left. So they've got to get those things fixed as well. And part of it is getting the running game going. And, you know, obviously, like I said, the defense has to stop people.
Bo, what is? I mean, assume it's injuries. It's Kyle Hamilton in particular, Ronnie Stanley in particular, who we think have chances to return this week. What else are you monitoring this week leading into the Rams game?
Yeah, I mean, those will be obviously the big ones. John hinted that maybe a couple of the starters that were out can come back. And, you know, and honestly, when we're out there for the 10 or 15 minutes we're allowed to be out at practice, you can sometimes get a sense for maybe what they're doing with the offensive line. We're not really allowed to report that, but you sometimes can get a feel for, you know, who's lining up next to whom, and we'll see if any guys if that looks any different. But more than anything else, it's who's on the field. I mean, is Ronnie Stanley back practicing? Is Hamilton practicing? Is Humphrey or any of these other people? You know, I don't expect to see Lamar Jackson. I don't expect to see Roquan Smith, but you don't know. But that obviously that's the most important thing. Who's out there? And the other thing, like to your point earlier, is, I mean, do they sign anyone? Are there any newcomers here starting tomorrow? There may be working out guys yesterday and today, and we'll see. Not that they would be probably ready to suit up Sunday, although I said I think that 1 year Josh Bynes might have.
Right.
But are there any newcomers? Because that obviously is something to look at.
Well, we'll talk about whatever it is when we get to next Tuesday, and who knows if there have been major changes by that point. Of course, follow him on Twitter at B Smolka. Check out all the stuff at PressBoxOnline.com. Bo Smolka, appreciate you, sir. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right, Glenn, take care.
It's Bo Smolka, PressBox Ravens beat writer, with us here on GCR. If you missed Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson talking playoffs, they got together yesterday. Before, oh man, like I'm not a Phillies. I'm not pulling for the Phillies, but I'm going to be anti-Dodger because they're like the NL Yankees to me. And that was brutal last night. But you can find that show right now, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. Click on the videos tab when you go to Facebook, and it's always brought to you by the Costa Sin. And the all-new Costa Sin now open in Timonium at the Grandstand. We'll come back in, preview Waiver Wire Wednesday with Joe Serpico. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Game day hits different with Live Casino's Big Plays, Big Pays hot seats. Head to Sports and Social on select Sundays and Mondays in October. We'll draw 10 hot seat winners every hour. When the home team scores, we'll double the prize pool. Plus, we'll give away $50 Sports and Social gift cards with every touchdown. Watch and win at Live Casino. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
For fans of the Costas Inn, and who isn't, I have some great news. Now there's a second location to go along with 4100 North Point Boulevard. This one is at the Timonium OTB. This is Stan the Fan, and I have been a fan of the Costas Inn and Triantafalo's family for going on 30 years. They're open for lunch and dinner, same great Costas feel, same great menu and quality food you've been enjoying for well over 50 years. The exact address on your GPS is 2200 York Road, and their phone number at the new location is 667-406-1975. If you're new to the Costas experience, get ready for a real treat. All wrapped up in a new spacious dining room in Timonium at the OTB. If you want steamed crabs, you have them, and the full menu at 4100 North Point Boulevard. The number for reservations there at Costas, 410-477-1975.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Looking for Baltimore's premier waterfront dining experience? Head to Nick's Fish House, located in the Baltimore Peninsula. Enjoy crabs all year long, plus happy hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6. Planning a celebration? From rehearsal dinners to corporate crab feasts, Nick's is the spot to make it unforgettable. And the fun doesn't stop there. Live music fills the air every Thursday through Sunday. Check out the full lineup at nicksfishhouse.com. Nick's, it's where Baltimore comes to eat, drink, and play by the water.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. Don't forget, Maryland 5-Star. We're talking 9 days out now from the 5th edition of the Maryland 5-Star, happening once again at Fair Hill in Cecil County. You can get your tickets right now, maryland5star.us with the number 5. It's a celebration of the fall here in the state of Maryland and a world-class sporting event all in one. If you haven't been, telling you don't have to be into equestrian. You don't even have to understand equestrian to be amazed by what it is that you're going to see and to just have a great time with like the Food and Wine Festival and the Corgi Cup and the ponies. It's a great, great weekend. I'm looking forward to getting back out there for the Maryland 5-Star starting next Thursday at Fair Hill. It is Tuesday, and I am desperate. I need help. I think I'm only over 500 in one of my 4 leagues. It is a disaster. So can I be saved? Joining us now to preview Waiver Wire Wednesday, he is PressBox Fantasy Football Analyst Joe Serpico, and he's with us on GCR. Joe, it's Glenn. I need help. Help me, Joe Serpico.
Well, there's a couple guys that are available for you this week, but it all depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for running back help, there's some names, but if you're looking for receiver help still, I can't really help you out a whole lot.
There. I guess let's start with the Chargers. I assume it's Hassan Haskins who's first to get the shot. I assume that, but I know Kamani Vidal will be part of the conversation. I could absolutely see them going to the street, so I guess we're putting claims in for Hassan Haskins, but are we spending fab on Hassan Haskins not knowing how this situation is going to play out?
I'm willing to put in a few dollars for Haskins, but I'm not going overboard just because, one, it does seem like that it's only going to be a 4-week stint for Hampton on IRs. And the other reason being, up until this week, Haskins had a snap count. I mean, it's not a whole lot of snaps, but he played 14 snaps leading up to week 5 compared to just 2 for Vidal. So if there's anybody who looks at it like they are ahead of the other right now, it's Haskins. But with that said, I could still see this being a 2-headed monster with maybe Haskins as the goal line back. There is some familiarity with the Michigan connection there. But again, I'm not going overboard. Maybe like $5, $6, $10 if you're desperate to add him to your team. But like I said, with being a situation where these are not long-term solutions and we don't really have any clarity right now, I'm not going a little crazy over it.
I say this, like, I feel if we think it's going to be a shorter term for Amari and Hampton, if you pick up Hassan Haskins, are you playing him this week?
Yeah, it depends on who else you have on your roster, obviously, if you're in a situation, because this is
where will he be ranked for you?
Well, if you bear with me 2 seconds, I'll tell you. I think I have him at 32 is where I had him, just basically in a borderline, just because, again, we just don't know where exactly he's going to be. Actually, I have him at 33. I'm looking at it right now. So, yeah, that's one of those situations just because of the uncertainty. Could it be him? Could it be, Kamani Vidal? I mean, we'll probably talk about it in 1 second, but we just saw like a perfect example in Arizona. 2 weeks ago, nobody was talking about Michael Carter, and then all of a sudden he's a thing. This could be the case with Vidal, who they used a draft pick on last year. So maybe it is Vidal that they ultimately see being that guy, or it could just be a committee. So, again, that's why I'm not going too crazy for either one of these guys, just because of the uncertainty.
Before I get to those other running backs, I have a very unique situation. I play in a league where we have almost no bench, right? Like we have 4 bench spots. It's a 14-team league, 4 bench spots. So guys become available sometimes that you wouldn't expect would become available just because during bye weeks you're in a crunch, you're in hell, and sometimes you have to release somebody. The guy that's out there right now is Bill. Bill is available. I have $98 worth of fab. What is the limit to how much I should be throwing at Bill, considering I was very hopeful that Woody Marks was going to save me, and then he went out and got me 2 points last week?
Yeah, Woody Marks definitely was a disappointment considering just how much damage the Texans did against the Ravens. In regards to Bill, he was somebody that thought, there was a lot of hype with him going into the season, and it took a little bit of a while, but it seems to be that things are slowly fading towards his way. He's playing about 50% of the snaps. The other 2 are still a factor. That is always going to be a thing, but as we can see, it looks like when they get closer to the goal line, it is going to be Bill's job down there. So I would say, what did you say? You had about $96 of I'm assuming it's 100, right?
Yeah, 98 of 100.
98 of 100. I mean, I wouldn't spend it all, but I would spend a good chunk of it, especially if, kind of like I said last week, if you were willing to put 40% out there for Woody Marks, I would be willing to actually do a little bit more for Bill, just because I think at some point it's going to be where one of the other 2 guys is faded out, most likely going to be Chris Rodriguez, because it does seem like they're using nickels in passing down situations. So I would think that Bill is actually going to be a guy who's going to maybe not be a bell cow average this year, but he's going to be somebody that, he's getting 60% of the snaps. And that's kind of what we're seeing around the league from other guys,
so
like J.K. Dobbins.
Tell me what offer to put in. You're not telling me what offer to put in, Joe.
60%, 40 to 50%. If you were willing to do 40 last week, like I said, you do 50 to 60 if you want Bill.
I'm putting in a $61 offer in case somebody else is putting in a 60% offer.
What if they're listening? Why would you say that?
I don't know. I mean,
now you have to put in 62.
That's okay. That's what I'll do.
Now they're going to put nice number. Go with the nice number.
Oh, you think I should go all the way to 69? That's what you're saying? You're saying I should go all the way to 69?
Make sure you get that.
Let me go back to it for a second. Are you also putting claims in for Vidal?
Most likely not. He's somebody maybe I'll pick up on after waivers. But if I'm going to put any fab money on somebody, it's going to be Haskins. Like I said, it's just a couple dollars. Vidal will be somebody I'll pick up after waivers process. And just like I said, kind of see how that plays out. I do think it's going to be Haskins ultimately. But, again, you always got to stash these guys just to kind of see how things play out.
Let's talk about Michael Carter.
I mean, Amari DeMarcado literally fumbled away his chance, I think, at that job. Now, Carter got most of the touches. He had 23 touches throughout the game. He had the touchdown. So it looks like it is that he is the guy to own for the time being. If he is somehow available, you are going 15, 20% to add him, just because based on what we saw last week, he looks like he is the true workhorse. But, 23 touches. I know it was the going against the Titans defense, but that's a good amount of touches we want from anybody in fantasy football. So if somebody is getting touches that many times, you actually absolutely want to add them to your roster.
Well, what about Kendre Miller?
This is the interesting one. So this has more to do, in my opinion, of what is the future of Alvin Kamara. There's a ton of rumors about all of the veterans in New Orleans getting shopped, Kamara being one of them. This week was the first week where we saw Kendre Miller actually have more touches than Kamara. Not only that, he's been actually more efficient with his touches all season long than Kamara has been. So this could be a situation where Kamara is traded and then Kendre Miller is the lead back for them. It kind of seems like they're already flirting with that a little bit. So if that is the case, Kamara is gone. Depending on where he goes, it'll impact his value. But Kendre Miller would absolutely skyrocket up. Now, with that said, it's still the Saints. We're not expecting a whole lot of points from them this year, but you want all these running backs, especially these handcuff running backs. This was a big week for handcuff running backs, but he's definitely a guy to put at the end of your bench to kind of see what happens with the trade deadline.
It's like one of those things where can we afford to have a roster spot on a guy that we're not playing right now in bye week? And that's the difficult part about this. Like once you get into bye weeks is how many roster spots can you give the guys that like you're not confident you're starting at the moment?
Oh, absolutely. Like that. He's a perfect example. A couple weeks ago was Kenny Gainwell. We were talking about him. He's kind of hard to, after the bye weeks, is kind of hard to hold on to. There's a handful of those guys, which I get it. But if you have the room to stash guys, you can't, I would. If you're in like, deeper leagues, these are definitely guys you want to put on your radar. But, again, yeah, maybe he's not getting you something right now. But it's always like we do with a lot of these rookie running backs. You got to stash them. You wait for about the midway point in the season and where they take over, and that's right around where the trade deadline is. So if Kamara is moved, then you have a starting running back down in New Orleans. Now, again, temper your expectations because it is the Saints, but wherever we can get lead running backs, you want them. I mean, look what we saw from Dowdle this week. Nobody was anticipated him for 200 and some yards.
PressBox Fantasy Football analyst Joe Serpico is with us. He's brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, the best place to watch every football game day. And every big fight night is Inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Kendrick Bourne was a very stealth pickup for a lot of folks last week, but is Kendrick Bourne going to be worth all that much to you moving forward?
No, I think he is very dependent on the status of the other two receivers in San Francisco, and that's Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings. The connection with Mac Jones was evident, and we could be seeing that could be not a thing as early as this week. If Brock Purdy comes back, that's basically out the window there. So if Bourne is the only option, he becomes a flex-worthy, maybe even a wide receiver 2 this week. But as far as fab goes, I'm not going too overboard unless you're in true desperate situations because, like I said, he becomes the number 3 when the other two come back. And then let's not forget, we're only a couple of weeks from potentially Brandon Ayuk coming back too, so that would just bump him down to 4th in the pecking order there. And then even George Kittle should be coming back in the next couple of weeks too. So I'm not going too crazy to add Bourne, but if you need like a bye week fill-in for this week, let's say I believe Justin Jefferson's on a bye this week, and you need somebody to kind of fill that role. If the other two guys are out, Bourne's an option for you.
Am I playing Bo Nix or Caleb Williams this week?
I believe the Caleb Williams, they're going against the Commanders, if I remember correct. Yeah, so I think I'm going to lean towards Caleb Williams, not by a whole lot there, just because bits and pieces from the Jets look okay. I would just much rather go with Caleb going against the Commanders' defense as opposed to Bo Nix going against the Jets' defense.
All right, fair enough.
And then it's that overseas thing is always concerns me,
dude,
too.
I always get weird about that, too. I don't want anybody involved in those games. I know you listed Darren Waller again this week. I assume that everybody picked up Darren Waller last week. I can't imagine where he's available. I'm going to ask about a couple other tight ends. Like, I'll go back to Harold Fannin, who appeared to be more of a thing again this week with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback. I know there's more and more conversation about Mason Taylor maybe coming into his own. The window was open for Taysom Hill down in New Orleans. Walk me through, if you're in tight end hell, where some of these guys might factor in.
Taysom Hill is going to be a little bit hard to figure out just because he's always been a cheat code at the position, but now we're dealing with a new coaching staff, so I don't know how much they value him as the years pass. The one that I almost threw into the – I know I put in Waller, but I was debating whether I wanted to put Mason Taylor in there or not. By far his best game as a pro as the rookie. Saw, I believe it was 12 targets this week. That's obviously what we're looking for when it comes to tight ends, especially with how dreadful the tight end position has been this year. But my fear is you're still relying on Justin Fields, who isn't the best passer, to actually do those numbers for you. So he's borderline-ish. I'll probably have him somewhere between 14 and 18 this week for tight ends, and that's just because if the volume continues, then yes, he is absolutely somebody you have to consider. In regards to Fannin, I think what we saw this week, it wasn't just Fannin that got, even Njoku saw more looks this week with the change at quarterback. So that could be definitely a factor moving forward. Fannin's going to be another one of those guys where he's going to be right around those same range, between 14 and 18, and that's just every week kind of play the matchups. I think if you don't have one of the top 5 or 6 tight ends, that's what you need to do this year, just because there is really no true consistency at tight end. Even the top tight ends are not even doing that well this year. So if you could just find guys who are getting heavily targeted, like Mason Taylor, like a Jake Ferguson, guys of that nature, those are the kind of guys you want to hold on to at tight end.
So you're saying nothing. I got no good news for
Pretty
you.
much,
No
yeah.
good news.
It's
That's-
dreadful. I mean, every year we say that preseason we think it's going to be okay. We got all these guys, and then once the season starts, we're like we have zero guys.
My answer this year was going to be Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram was going to be my saving grace this year.
Same here. I was big on him. I have him in a lot of best ball leagues, and let's just say I'm being disappointed.
To say the least.
While CeeDee Lamb's still out, any reason to go after Ryan Fluornoy?
No, I had a feeling somebody was going to ask me about this, but we run into these 1 week wonders every now and then. That just seems to be the case with him here. So, no, I'm not going overboard with him. I like what I've seen from the other guys. Let's not also forget that Turpin was out this week, so that's the reason why Flournoy actually got more looks. So when Turpin's back with Tolbert there, and then George Pickens, and then especially once Lamb is back, forget about it. So, no, he's not somebody I'm not even putting on my radar.
And Isaac Tesla, can we go after him yet with Khalif Raymond hurt?
It's hard to say. Do you really want a number 3? Do you want? I mean, I get it. The Lions are, a potent offense, but do you really want a number 3 on a certain team? That's the hard part with the Chargers right now. It seems that all 3 of those guys, 1 week one pops off, the next week the other one doesn't. So it's hard to trust any of these teams right now that are running 3 wide receivers, and that's definitely not one of them that I'm relying on. Even though he does look good when he makes plays, so don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Anything else from you?
I don't think so.
You can't be in as bad a shape as I am. There's a league where right now
I'm not in good shape.
I'm slated to start all of Chase Brown, Isaiah Pacheco, Trey Tucker, Evan Ingram this week.
I mean, I'm pretty much the same. I'm going to start. I have to start. Would you start if I get Vidal or Haskin and Fab on waivers? Do I start them over Isaiah Pacheco, Joe? Or are you starting Pacheco over either Charger?
Hold on, they got the Lions this week. I mean, based on what we saw last night, it looks like Hunt's the guy near the goal line, which is a little bit of a surprise for me too. Pacheco's supposed to be the thunder there, but it seems like whenever they get near the goal line, it's Hunt. So, and I can't remember off the top of my head who the Chargers play this week, but yeah, I think I might be starting.
Chargers get Miami. That's a great. That's a.
Oh, and yes, you know what? If you get Haskins against that poor defense, that actually might be the play over Pacheco, who is basically he might almost be third in the pecking order behind Brashard Smith now too.
So should we be going after Brashard Smith?
I have him in a league just to kind of see because he seems to be the one with the most juice. But at the same time, he is still kind of a gadget guy for them. So if you're in the deepest of leagues, stash him, see how things go there. See if, again, he's one of those kind of guys that takes over at the end of the season there. But again, he's just at the end of the bench guy. I'm not really spending sad on him.
Anything else that you are monitoring this week, pal?
The schedule makers did us no favors again this week. So this is another week where we have an international game in the morning, and then we have the 2 Monday night games again, and those kind of drive me insane just because those are more guys you got to worry about, especially if any of those guys are injured. It does help out that you can have an extra game to potentially pick guys up, but then it's just more fear of potential people being out on Monday. So just keep tabs on those Monday night guys.
All right. You can follow him at Joe Serp. See everything at PressBoxOnline.com. Joe Serpico. At some point this week, I'm just going to give you access to all of my teams, and you're going to look around the league and try to make some trades for me because I am screwed with everything that I've been trying to do, and I need some help. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you as always. Let's talk next week.
Anytime, guys. We'll talk then.
That's our guy, Joe Serpico. Not helping me. Zach Moore, we could evolve on the offensive line. Derrick Henry is not a happy man. I think John Harbaugh spoke specifically about the offensive line yesterday, correct, Griffin? He had I think this to me is as close as you get to John Harbaugh giving something away. When John Harbaugh never suggests there's ever going to be movement about when it comes to anything, when he even alludes to the possibility that there could be changes, it to me feels like he's almost telling you that there are going to be changes. This was John Harbaugh about the offensive line specifically yesterday.
Is looking at personnel changes maybe on the offensive line something you consider?
Oh, yeah, everything's on the table. I mean, we always consider that. We look at it. I'd say it's a conversation every week. Sometimes it's not really a conversation because you know who you're. When Kyle's healthy, I know he's going to be our starting safety. And Marlon's going to be our starting nickel. But there are guys that are in that area where they still have to prove themselves. And those guys are under consideration all the time. They are the starters because they have earned that to a point, but you got to keep earning that, and you got to keep getting better. You can't plateau. It can't be like we want to build something and then all of a sudden it's not getting there as fast as we think it should or we envisioned it. If we were hoping for you to make more progress as a player and it's not happening, then at some point in time somebody else is going to get a chance, and that's just the way it should work.
John, you've talked
That's John Harbaugh yesterday, and I think that when you hear an answer like that from John Harbaugh, he's telling you without telling you, because he's so inclined to just say, no, these guys are doing, like, he's so inclined to not give you anything that when he gives you something like that, even, obviously, that's not him saying we're going to make a change. It just feels like that's his way of telling you without actually telling you. So what that means, like, what would the change be? Could it be multiple changes? To Bo's point earlier, could it be that you go both with Corey Bullock and Ben Cleveland? Like, I think that we all assume it's guard, but also, where is Ronnie Stanley in all this? Can he come back this week? Do you really want to have new starters out there with Joe Noteboom at left tackle? I don't know. But I do think that you make something of what John Harbaugh said yesterday, because he is so inclined to just say no in those circumstances that I think it might tell you that there could very well be changes coming. Everything you need to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland, you can find out at countysports.zone. Proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com at countysports.zone. Every team, every school, every sport, every corner of the state, they've got you covered, countysports.zone. All season long, we are reflecting on 30 seasons of Ravens football, and we've been doing that by catching up with members of the inaugural Ravens team to talk about how things have changed so dramatically. And I know this year's been tough, but still, how we went from a franchise that had no uniforms, no logo, to being one of the model franchises in all of American pro sports. Joining us now, the inaugural defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. He was part of the Super Bowl 35 staff as well. Longtime friend of ours, the great Marvin Lewis, is back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn back in Baltimore. It's always good to catch up with you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Hey, Glenn, good morning. You're very welcome.
Marvin, I've been asking guys to take me back, right? Like, and try to, if we can, go back to 1996. And arriving here in Baltimore, and obviously it was different for you because you didn't come from the Browns, but you still saw those initial moments and what you made of what was happening in Baltimore. Maybe for you, why you wanted to be a part of something that was sort of shrouded in so much confusion and doubt the way that it was in 96.
Well, I think, number one, I was excited because it was an opportunity for me to become a defensive coordinator. And I had been around some really good coaches, and I was excited for my opportunity. And frankly, for the most part, I think the organization did such a great job of us not feeling all that angst and everything, and just being able to focus on football. You see what I'm saying? So I know there was a lot, like I tell people don't remember back that we had a mini camp and we had black shirts and white shirts and white helmets.
Nothing.
And
I mean,
people don't remember
that's what Jonathan Ogden had when he was drafted.
Because there was no name nor colors yet.
Marvin, was there a moment, like, when you got here, did you know that didn't matter? Like, you say that, like, the organization did a good job of shielding you, but did you know, obviously there was no way to know that you were going to have maybe the greatest defense of all time in a few years, but were you aware that the infrastructure existed, whether that was because of Ozzie or, Mr. Modell or whatever it was? Were you aware that there was a there that maybe the rest of us couldn't see yet?
Well, yeah, actually, it's kind of there was, but I think I don't know. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. I have the ability to just focus on what I'm in, what I can make an impact on, what I'm responsible for, what I can control, and I don't really get sidetracked very often with things that I can't control. And when you're looking back on it now, and as we got into the season, there were a lot of things that were different. When we started that season in '96, we didn't have a practice squad. I mean, we literally had the 53 guys on the roster, and 2 or 3 of those are always going to be hurt. So, we were somewhat, already working at a disadvantage compared to most of the National Football League at the time. But they made a move. We released Leroy Horde, and then we could afford a practice squad. So there were a lot of things, but that initial group of people, Bill Tessendorf and Josh, I can't remember Chuck's last name now, they came and helped, really facilitate the move of everything. Kevin Byrne, Bob Eller. I mean, these guys had to work their tails off to make this thing happen and make it so we could concentrate on football.
Marvin, when did it become clear to you that the Ravens were a thing? Like when did you realize this has a chance to be more special than just hey, there's only 30 of these. At the time there were only 30 of them. There's only 30 of these, so I just need to have one of them. When did it strike you that this might be something more than that, what we're doing here?
Well, yeah, I think we started to turn the corner, at least defensively, the year we got let go during the '98 season. I think with the addition, we obviously drafted Ray that first year. There were already a lot of good pros already in the building, the Rob Burnett's. We added Saragusa. We already had some guys that were in the building. Mike Caldwell was a young player when Ray was drafted to help be one of Ray's mentors. And I think we felt at least I felt that we were changing on defense. We didn't have much margin of error for defense, and maybe that made it that much more special when we could and when we did, because we were used to playing on a very thin rope. And, I tell coaches all the time, that's the hardest part of defense is when you're not sure how much the offense is going to score. And we just got wore down a couple of, games where we just ran out of ability to make plays and so forth.
I do have one other, is there someone or something that to you tells the story of how the Ravens became the Ravens? Like if again, I go back to from no jerseys and no name to model organization in all of football, is there, if I said, Marvin, what's the biggest reason why that happened? What would your answer be?
Ozzie Newsome.
Okay.
Ozzie Newsome, hands down.
Why?
He never flinched. He never flinched, even when things maybe weren't right with the structure of the coaching. He never flinched. I was hired by Coach Marchabroda, who was a wonderful man, a very exceptional coach,
right,
in the National Football League. But we did things kind of old school, you would say. And we kind of got wore out a little bit with our players. We wore them out a little bit. And I think we recognized that. And but there was no flinch. There was no, I think, Jonathan and Ray being the, first round picks that year, number 4 and 26, just their character and their drive to be great. And then the additions of the Rod Woodsons really made a huge impact. And then later on down the road, Shannon Sharp, Ben Coates, Sam Gash, and some of the people we added, through the Super Bowl run. And then, I just think the way, the calmness, the way we went about evaluating for the draft. I owe it to Ozzie because Ozzie let me go and put my hands on these kids and be around them and see if it was somebody I wanted to be around 18, 20 hours a day. Was this the right person that we wanted to be around? And he let me go do that. And I remember one time him saying to me, and I can't remember which team he referenced, but when we were, and it was the 97 draft, and we were considering Peter Boulware. And he said, Marvin, I don't want to be, and I can't remember what team he said, that changes the defense every year. And if we're going to pick this guy, you have to figure out how we get him on the field for 3 downs. And, so those kind of moments, and then I remember me going to Dwayne Starks, and then we're in the draft meetings and talking about Dwayne, and Ozzie made the statement, this is the first time that I have heard us downgrade a player because he tackles. Because Dwayne weighed 168 pounds. And Ozzie made that statement in the draft room that we're downgrading a player because he will tackle. And then the next year I got to go see Chris McAllister. I went and saw all the cornerbacks every year who were the totally top prospects. And those guys knew I liked Chris. And when I came back, they said, we don't even want to hear the time you've got on him. We're not even going to take your time.
Wow. Wow.
Because I literally watched Chris run, and then I got in the car and drove back to the airport in Phoenix and flew back to Baltimore. I was done. I was set.
That's my guy. I know. I know. That's my guy.
So, it's just a lot of moments like that. But to me, it all runs through Ozzie. It from Brian Billick, when Brian calls me and he's interested in he knows he's a candidate of the job. What do I need to know? I said, Brian, you and Ozzie need to be joined at the hip. Because if not, Mr. Modell's going to listen to all these outside voices. And boy, was that true. That, they got joined at the hip and they trusted each other to do their jobs. And it was amazing that way. So, those were the cool times and those cool moments, that were, you don't know how changing they were. Hell, I want to hire Jack Del Rio to mentor Ray, and he retires. But later on, he gets to coach Ray.
How about that?
Brian tells me we're going to hire Jack Del Rio to be your linebacker coach, and I tell him the story that I wanted Ozzie to hire Jack in '97 after Ray's rookie year to help mentor Ray.
Man,
because I'd been around Jack at the Pro Bowl. And I thought he would be him or Clay Matthews would be great mentors for Ray Lewis.
Wow. Wow.
And so, and obviously Ozzie walking down to my office and saying, hey, 49ers are going to cut Woodson. Take a look at him. And I watched 4 games, and I could see he could still chase over routes and that he was just put in precarious situations. But he could still run like the wind. I knew already, I'd already spent 4 years with him. I knew how smart he was. I knew what effect he could have on young players. And so a lot of those kind of times, that were really cool when we think back and remember, as I tell Ozzie, when we came out of the ashes, the zenith.
Hey, man.
That's what it was like.
There was a rising. There was no question that there was a rising of the Phoenix from where things were. Marvin, as you know right now, not the best of times in Baltimore at the moment. You're not available for consultant work still, are you? You're not available to maybe have one more chef in the kitchen at the moment, are you?
Yeah, I think they've got. I think John's got some good coaches, and I think they'll figure it out. And obviously, you got to get your quarterback back and healthy.
Yeah.
And they got one of the best backs in the league. They've got a great stable of tight ends, receivers, so forth. And the defense. Although is I think banged up right now, and they just got to get some guys back. Unfortunately, the war of attrition is real in the National Football League.
Can you give me insight? Obviously, you're not here, so you don't have insight to what's going on here. But generically, because I think this is something that a lot of us that'll never be in these situations don't understand. It's easy for everybody to sit at home and say, fire the coordinator. It's just the easiest thing in the world to do, right? It's brainless. You can just say it. It doesn't mean anything to you. It doesn't mean anything to anybody. What is it like when something's going wrong? Like, what goes into making that type of decision for a head coach when this is your guy who you trust and you hired and you believe in, but it is going wrong, and how do you handle that? Like, what is that feeling like for a head coach, and what ultimately becomes the reason why you might choose to go ahead and make a move like that?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. Unfortunately, I had to do it too many times. I had to do it twice during the season, once on offense, once on defense. And literally your first thing is you are responsible. And that's kind of the first word you just said. You are responsible. So the first thing coach is going to do is he's going to get there and be with that coach. And what can I do to help? These are the things I see. What are the things you see? Where are breakdowns occurring and why are they occurring? And that's the first things that you're going to, try to rectify and bring out in the open and make the players aware. I mean, that's the one thing is you got to make the players aware. They've got a responsibility in this too. Once I took over our defense my first year in 2003, and I proved I could give up 26 points just like Les Frazier could. And that was my point to the players. You guys want me to do this, but understand we practice these very coverages and fronts versus these particular plays in practice, and you allow them to go for explosives. So your execution, we need to look at that, and that's really important. That's one of the first things Brian said when he got the job. There were good players here or good coaches here before me, and y'all got them fired. So I got my eye on you guys. And the same thing I said in Cincinnati, And but that's the thing. The first thing is he's going to do everything he can to try to right the ship from within, making sure that everybody's seeing everything on the same page. We're putting it out in the open. We're discussing it, and we're coming out unified on this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to coach it, and eliminate the gray area of that, and now get back to trying to execute it as best we can. That's what I'm sure is going on.
The stench of losing is something that your old friend Drew Forrester and I talk about a lot, right? Like that when you're mired in this, when everything is going the wrong way, how do you get out of it? Because everybody becomes a body language expert in those moments, right? Like, and it's just it seems like this team has given up, and they throw around the word quit, which is a word I don't like to use ever because, that's nonsense. But what do you do as a coach when you're mired? It just seems like everything is going the wrong way, and it's really hard for guys to pick their heads up and go about their business because nothing seems to be working.
I think is now you're again looking to some internal leadership you have with the football team. I think that's the number one thing is, do you have the right leaders in place, whether it's your captains, a leadership group, however you've structured, your lieutenants, you're also calling on your coordinators, your position coaches, because your position coaches are the links to what's going on. And literally my first line of defense, I always felt, was my strength coach who was with us as an assistant, ironically, in Baltimore, Chip Morton. And him and Jeff Friday, who were with me, roles reversed, but I always felt like they gave me the pulse of the football team right away. And I think that's the thing, that their mentorship downstairs from the morning, just the attitude by the training staff, the meals, everything we do, everybody has to, there can be no flinch. The words I used earlier, there can be no flinch. Mm-hmm. We're going to pull out of this, and this is how we're going to pull out of it. And now we got to put the plan in place to do it step by step.
If it's easy as that, man, I hope that's the conversation that they're having this week.
Well, it's what it is. The buzzword the coaches use today is process.
Right.
We're going to check the process, okay?
I mean,
well,
sure.
But it is. It's simple but complex, and we've got to dive in and where are the breakdowns occurring? Do we have to change? Do we change people? Do we change scheme? What do we do?
I know you're doing a little analyst work now these days. Are you confident they get Lamar Jackson back? That like all of this could flip on a dime? That's just how special Lamar Jackson is. That even when you have other warts, he can fix them.
Well, he's one of those. I mean, there's a half dozen of those guys in the National Football League, and he's certainly one of them. And he's going to give everybody else in that building, the other side of the ball and everything, hope that, you know what, we have an opportunity now because we're going to be able to put the ball in the end zone. And, with the back they have and like I said, the tight end group and the receivers, they've got a lot of ability, and you just got to, but yeah, I do. I believe, he's the straw that stirs the drink. And, that's the way it goes.
Marvin Lewis, again, if you're up for it, we could use every thought that you've got and how to make this better, because this does not look like a Baltimore Ravens defense to this point. Hopefully that's going to change soon.
Hopefully.
Marvin, really appreciate taking the time. It has been fun. I say this all the time. I think a lot of people, and I only point out my producer Griffin because he just happens to be that age, don't understand truly how miraculous it is. I may think a lot of people take it for granted how great the Ravens have been, and don't know truly how amazing the story is of where they come. So I appreciate you helping us remind everybody as we reflect on 30 seasons. Always good to catch up with you. Look forward to chatting with you again soon. Thank you for taking the time.
All right. You're welcome, guys. We'll see you soon.
It's the great Marvin Lewis with us here on GCR. Appreciate him taking the time. Somebody's got to fix it. Why not let Marvin fix it? Anybody. Number of people that I've heard. I swear to God. When I do the you don't fire your coach, somebody asked a coach, I've done that a few times. The number of people that have gone to, just let Ed Reed be the coach.
Why not? Yeah.
It's where we are, man.
You could do the player coach.
I got my first. It's time to trade Lamar comment over the weekend. I got my first, rip it all down. Not blaming Lamar. His point was, nobody wanted to give up 2 first-round picks the last time they had a chance.
That's what I mean. It's right?
the
NFL it's so weird. My friend asked me, he's like, if they lose to the Bears or something,
right.
Who should we trade?
Could you trade at that point?
And I started thinking about it like baseball, where it's Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith, we're trading everybody with it that's expensive and aging.
But
also you're not getting anything back.
Right? That's sort of the reality of it. That's where the argument that some people make is that the window is closed, right? Or it's closing for the Ravens with this group. That's what why the last 2 years were so painful, is because that was your window with this group. You've missed it. Now it's going to have to be about the next group. And again, maybe that's true. You might be right. And as people have brought up, we thought the Rams are going to have to go through a dramatic rebuild. Well, as it turns out, they rebuilt kind of on the fly just by drafting well. It's the damnedest thing, right? When you find game changers, Puka Nacua later in the draft. Where was Jared Verse? He was second round, right?
No, he was a first. I think
he was a first rounder. Then who was the guy? Oh, Fisk, right? Was a second rounder.
Yeah.
When you're able to do those types of things on the fly, then you don't have to rebuild. I'm not even really having the rebuild conversation because it's absurd. But the point that I made to the guy is, even if they got there, even if they said that's what we have to do, it's not with your quarterback. You don't sign up to wander through the wilderness at the quarterback position, ever. You never do that. And you'd have to start looking at what guys' cap hits were for next year and who it just doesn't make sense to eat it for. You'd have to start having those conversations if you got to that point. You bring up the Bears thing. That's That's where you start having those conversations if it really does go south. But, yeah, you're not the assets people would give up something real for, the guys you're not trading, like Kyle Hamilton. Like, you could get real assets for Kyle Hamilton. You're not trading Kyle Hamilton. There's not as many of those. Tyler Linderbaum, like, you don't even have a contract done with Tyler Linderbaum, so you got to figure that out.
Mark Andrews, I guess, like that's the one.
But you're not getting real assets for Mark Andrews.
Right.
You could get real assets for Zay Flowers. You want to trade Zay Flowers? Like, this is the reality of the circumstances.
It's not like baseball where
it's not at all like baseball. It's not close to like baseball. That's the problem with that. We'll come back in. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get tubular. I don't know. We can touch on 5 plays, and there's no point. There is no point to doing 5 plays. None. 0. Game started. Over. That's the end of it. But
I think Friday that would probably be the play of the game when they said Lamar Jackson officially not playing.
Yeah, or there was still hope about. They didn't rule out Hamilton or Stanley on Friday.
No.
Right? So, like, even that, you were like, well, maybe at least if you have those guys on the field. Project Game Day, we'll do it again on Sunday. Myself, Rita, Tyus Bowser, KZ, maybe Andrew Stecca. I think he's going through it a little bit. I think he just doesn't feel like dealing with it. Maybe Griffin. Who knows? Come hang out with us. Following Ravens-Rams, PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. It's all brought to you by Game Day Men's Health, as well as the Costas Inn, Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, 1-800-GAMBLER, helpmygamblingproblem.org. One more segment to go on GCR.
For fans of the Costas Inn, and who isn't, I have some great news. Now there's a second location to go along with 4100 North Point Boulevard. This one is at the Timonium OTB. This is Stan the Fan, and I have been a fan of the Costas Inn and Triantafalo's family for going on 30 years. They're open for lunch and dinner, same great Costas feel, same great menu and quality food you've been enjoying for well over 50 years. The exact address on your GPS is 2200 York Road, and their phone number at the new location is 667-406-1975. If you're new to the Costas experience, get ready for a real treat. All wrapped up in a new spacious dining room in Timonium at the OTB. If you want steamed crabs, you have them, and the full menu at 4100 North Point Boulevard. The number for reservations there at Costas, 410-477-1975.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens running back Derrick Henry and how the football legend has proven to be a unicorn at the position with the success that he's found after the age of 30. Also inside, Brandon Schwartzberg looks at Kobe Mayo's push to find rhythm at the big league level. And we mark the start of the college football season by meeting players from all 4 FBS and FCS programs throughout the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Game day hits different with Live Casino's Big Plays, Big Pays hot seats. Head to Sports and Social on select Sundays and Mondays in October. We'll draw 10 hot seat winners every hour. When the home team scores, we'll double the prize pool. Plus, we'll give away $50 Sports and Social gift cards with every touchdown. Watch and win at Live Casino. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself? It could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, we specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle with weekly injections or pellet therapy. Get started today with a free testosterone test and feel the difference. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Game Day Men's Health, where men reclaim their game.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy. when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, real quick. Here's what I had for 5 plays. We don't need to spend much. Let's not belabor it. My number 5 was the missed field goal at the end of the first half.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, was the game over at that point? Probably, but at least they had built a little tiny amount of momentum by getting into field goal range in, frankly, no time at all. Like it was kind of.
I know it was
kind of miraculous that I was like, wait a second. They had 28 seconds. Like, this was one of those times where I almost felt like, my God, just take a knee and don't let it get any worse, which you never see teams do anymore, obviously, because we now realize how precious time is and opportunities are. But they got into field goal range, miraculously, despite the fact they couldn't do anything offensively, only to then have the kick be missed. And I get it was a long kick. It's not an easy one, but, dude,
Yeah, I mean, I struggled with the order. I had it higher, the missed field goal.
Okay, I just think the game was over by that point.
Yeah, I mean, it probably was, but I mean, you get points here, you get a little momentum, you get the ball coming out of second half. I don't know, but so that really hurt. I had it higher on the list. It was actually my number 2. Just because it was. I had the after they went down 17-3, so halfway through the second quarter, they give it to Keaton Mitchell on 1st and 15, and he goes for no gain whatsoever. They run it right up the middle. So this is after one of the likely penalties that backed him up 5 yards, and it seems so tone deaf.
Yeah, okay.
It just seems so tone deaf that we're trying to get Henry. Henry didn't see the ball between the first drive and halfway through the third quarter. It was just completely tone deaf. You got half you got half the offensive line missing blocks.
I understand, but I think that was part of the reason why they tried to go to Keaton Mitchell was like, let's get outside the numbers, because clearly running between the numbers.
They went right up the middle. They went right off of Faalele.
I understand, but that maybe you're expecting. Look, man, nothing was working. It's not even a play that I remember.
I don't know why this play pissed me off, but it did.
My number 4 was okay. So this was. This is the thing, as you know, and this is going to happen twice. You can't put plays that didn't happen on my lists. You can only put plays that did happen. So in that way, it reflects something that didn't happen afterwards. My number 4 is what happened on 3rd and 4 from the Houston 10-yard line, which is where they threw the ball to Zay Flowers and only got 1 yard. Now, clearly, what I'm reflecting is the decision that they made to kick the effing field goal afterwards. But the field goal itself isn't the play because that was good, and you got 3 points. So I can't choose that as the play. Instead, the play that I have to choose is the one that left them short, which set them up, and why they weren't. And the other part of that is you've got to be prepared for, we've got 2 plays to get 4 yards here. And it's not about trying to get Zay Flowers into space. To me, it's we're going to run the ball here and continue to attempt to establish the run and think that we're going to get 2 to 3 yards, set ourselves up to make sure that we're in good spot to go for it on 4th down. But all of it, that just can't – kicking the field goal was a disaster, not getting yourself in a better position when you were moving the ball. It was obviously your most functional drive of the game when the game was still an actual football game. And you didn't get anything out of it.
I had that play 1 spot higher as my number 3, I do the decisions as so kicking the field goal was my number 3. My number 4 was the interception. They're down 3 touchdowns, but they were kind of moving the ball.
Game.
But this was your first way. You ran 5 plays already into the second half, and none of them went to Derrick Henry. Now you're like, oh, let's get it to Derrick Henry by throwing the ball, and it's the worst throw that Cooper Rush had all day. And it's intercepted. That was my number 4. My number 3 was the field goal sequence on the opening drive.
So. My number 3 is the punt sequence. My number 3 is
it's going to be higher for you. I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, I got 2. My number 1, I think a lot of people have forgotten about to me, was the defining play of the game. My number 3 is, again, it's the punt it's the one that counts, right? Because the other one doesn't count. It's a play that didn't happen. And so it's easy to say, but you're reflecting all of it. Like, we all know what could have been on the previous play. It could have been a 62-yard punt. But the bigger problem is that, you don't get to say, well, I almost had a good punt. Nah, dude, it's still Jordan Stout's job to not shank the ball out of bounds there. And I get it. It's a bad spot to punt from, standing back at the back of the end zone. But if there's anything that Jordan Stout we think is capable of doing, and we literally had just seen it one play before, it's booming a ball. We don't think he's got the golf bag, all the tricks that Sam Cook had, but we think he can boom a punt, and they desperately needed him to boom a punt, and instead he gave them a 35-yarder, and it just can't happen. So it does reflect obviously what happened the play before, but ultimately it's the punt that did occur that's my number 3.
My number 3 was the field goal.
Okay.
The opening drive field
goal. What your number
yes.
2 was too. My number 2 is what led to the punt disaster. My number 2
you
is
had both of them. Okay.
Cooper Rush getting sacked for a loss of 16 yards. And it's easy to say, I brought it up yesterday. A week ago, we killed Cooper Rush for throwing the ball away on 4th down because you can't live to fight for another down. And the argument that Cooper Rush could make is, well, it's 3rd down. I have to try to make a play. But you're Cooper Rush. It can never be okay to be going backwards. Ever, 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 ever. You can't get sacked for 16-yard losses. And obviously it sets all of this into motion that, in the end, leads to them getting the ball back on the 41-yard line. It can't happen. You're not that guy. You're Cooper Rush, man. Frankly, Tyler Huntley has escapability. He couldn't be that guy either. There are things that some quarterbacks like last night, Trevor Lawrence says, I fall down, but I have to get back up because the timeout, the clock situation is a problem. I can't just, hope for the best in that spot. Fine. But sometimes you have to hope for the best. Sometimes you are not making anything better happen by running around backwards ever, ever, ever. Damning play for Cooper Rush, number 2 on the list.
I guess because I keep thinking about things in sequences. So I had the sack as my number 1. I had the missed field goal as my number 2, and the sack is my number 1.
Admittedly, when I was first going through the plays, I had utterly forgotten about it. But my number 1 to me was the most defining play of the game. It was the moment the Ravens broke, and it was the moment that you realized just how badly the Texans were bullying them. It's C.J. Stroud running for 30 yards.
Yeah, all right.
It broke them. That was a 3rd and 4 in a spot that would have been a long field goal attempt. It was a 10-3 game at that point. That would have been, if they had gotten a stop, it would have been a 52-yard field goal. And I get it. I know Luke missed one, but we think 52 yards is what kickers are making.
I think Fairbank made a 57-yarder earlier.
But still, you at least have to force him to make it. And even if he does, it's still just a 10-point game. That play broke them. That's not Lamar Jackson running for 30 yards. That's not even Josh Allen running for 30 yards. This is not what C.J. Stroud does. This ain't it, Chief. This is you stink. This is you've got nothing to offer today, and you can't put up any resistance. So C.J. Stroud running for 30 yards to me was the defining play of just how little the Ravens had to offer for the game, and it's my number 1. We'll get it up at glennclarkradio.com here momentarily, but again, it's sort of a pointless exercise. They got their asses kicked. That's what happened. Remember, I got rid of 5 plays originally because the Ravens were winning every game in blowout fashion, and so it was boring to do 5 plays. Might end up happening again because of the other way. Just boring because nothing matters. Tidbit is brought to you today by Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills, Frederick, and Columbia. You know I love Game Day Men's Health. Peptide proteins have been really a game changer for me. I saw John Proctor at trivia last night, and he was like, "Dude, how sore are you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah," because we played tennis on Sunday night. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sore." I wasn't really feeling sore at all because this really has helped in recovery for me. You're feeling sluggish. You're feeling run down. You're a man of a certain age. Maybe you're low T. You can sign up for a complimentary testosterone test. Again, free testosterone test. Get that answer. But if you're not low T, like I wasn't, you still might need something to lift you up a little bit. Peptide proteins have done that for me. You're dealing with stubborn belly fat. You're dealing with performance issues in the bedroom. They've got you covered, and it's a safe space for men to talk about it. It is not a sterile, unwelcoming hospital or emergency room or doctor's office setting. It's sort of like a men's clubhouse. It's a pleasant place to be, man. Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills, 443-264. 4454. In Columbia, 443-266-3505. And Frederick, 240-931-3717.
Brewers won last night. The Miz threw 31 pitches over 100 miles per hour, most by a pitcher in any postseason game under the pitch tracking era since 2008. He also threw 2 pitches at over 104 miles per hour, which ties so yesterday in postseason history there have only ever been 2 pitches at 104 ever, and Mizorowski threw 2 by himself last night at 104 as the Brewers take a 2-0 lead over the who are they playing? The Cubs. Over the Cubs, of course.
After the Cubs spotted, got the first 3 runs of the game on that Suzuki.
I think that was another one. Another one from Oppostats. First team in postseason history to hit to score 3 runs in the first inning and then not score the rest of the game and lose. So
they didn't waste time giving away the lead either.
No, they did not. Keenan Allen over the weekend surpassed Marvin Harrison Sr., to become the fastest player in NFL history to reach 1,000 career receptions. So I guess I don't think we're gonna have time. I wanted to do. He was the 16th player to catch 1,000 passes in NFL history. I don't think we have time to do that.
16th. All right, let's try quick.
You think you can do it?
Yeah,
Right,
let's try. Rice.
Number 1.
I got to do 16. Moss.
Yeah, is Randy Moss not on
What?
there? No, Randy Moss finished his career with 982.
Unbelievable.
18th all time.
Owens.
Yes.
How about Irvin?
No.
What?
Where's Irvin? Where's Irvin at?
Okay. How about Fitzgerald?
Yes, number 2 all time.
How about do these have to be wide receivers?
No.
Okay. Now that matters. We said Marvin Harrison. That.
Sure. Yeah, that counts.
Marvin
Yes,
Harrison.
Marvin Harrison.
Okay.
So 4.
How about Julio?
Julio did not reach 1,000.
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter did.
Okay. How about Tim Brown?
Yes.
How about Torrey Holt?
No Torrey Holt.
Reggie Wayne?
Reggie Wayne, yes.
How about
taking all the fun out of this?
Keenan Allen's on the list.
He's like, yeah, Keenan Allen.
Calvin Johnson? No, he didn't play long enough. No, I know he didn't play long enough. Art Monk?
No, not Art
Andre Reed?
940.
I gotta go more modern. Andre Johnson?
Yes, Andre Johnson is there. No Andre Reed.
Let me get some tight ends. Gonzalez.
Yep. Gonzalez is number 3 all time in receptions.
Yeah, he was good. How about
number 4 all time is also a tight end.
How about number 4 all time is also a tight end? Witten?
Yep, Jason Witten.
Any more tight ends?
There's one.
It's not Gronk. He didn't play long enough.
Not Gronk.
Gates.
Not Gates. 955 for Gates.
Sharp.
Not Sharp. He's still active. The one tight end on this list.
Oh, Kelsey?
Kelsey's at 1,026.
Wow.
Most by active players. Most receptions by active players.
All right. So I need 4 more. 4 more? Holy F.
Yeah. 1.
Jesus Christ.
2, 3. Yeah, 4 more. 2 former Ravens.
Steve Smith.
Steve Smith.
And Anquan.
Anquan Bolton.
Okay. And then, did I say Isaac Bruce?
You did not, Isaac Bruce.
Okay. And then I'm missing one more.
14th all time. Yes, and this guy finished his career with exactly 1,000 receptions.
Exactly 1,000 receptions. Drew Pearson.
No.
Lynn Swan.
Guy would make a trip up to Baltimore once a year. Or I guess down to Baltimore.
It's not Chad Johnson.
Not Chad Ochocinco.
Down to Hines Ward?
Hines Ward finished with 1,000 receptions exactly in his career. And the next guy to cross into this list is a current Raven.
DeAndre Hopkins.
DeAndre Hopkins is at 991 receptions. He will be the 17th player to cross the 1,000 receptions.
So we finished in second at trivia last night.
Do you have to go or not?
I do. I have to go. Right. But I mean, it's calm down. All right, I'm good.
Just trying to look out for you.
You got to do this quickly though.
Oh God.
So we did not get this question right. You have to name 2 of the 5. The top. They consider the year from March 2004 to February 2025 the top 5 selling NFL jerseys. You have to get 2.
Get 2 of the top 5?
Mm-hmm.
So since 2004.
From March 2024 to February 2025.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
So during it's that 2024.
Yeah, got to go quick.
Lamar.
No.
Jane Daniels.
Yes. So you would have gotten 1 out of 2, which is what we got. We got 1 out of 2. You want to?
Is it a quarterback?
I'm telling you.
Allen.
No.
Mahomes.
Yes.
Kelsey.
We are, by the way, our two guesses, we were wrong on both. Because our two guesses were Allen and Kelsey. Both not in the top 5.
Wow.
The top 5 were 1, Saquon, 2, Mahomes, 3, Hurts, 4, Jaden Daniels, 5. That's why I think this list is made up. C.J. Stroud.
He was Rookie of the Year. I guess he was coming off Rookie of the Year.
Yeah,
right?
it's still nonsense. Nonsense.
Is that many Houston fans?
All right, here's what's coming up tonight. Totally,
the third most populated city. Maybe that's.
I know, but no, that's never cashed in for anything else. It doesn't show up in TV ratings. It doesn't show. I think that there's something bogus about this list.
Ohio State, just Ohio State fans, maybe.
Yeah, I don't feel it. All right, here's coming up Tubular-wise. Tubular is brought to you by the print issue of PressBox, still available for a couple more days before it makes way for a new print issue. You can read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. Baseball, we do get afternoon baseball, but not until 4. Mariners-Tigers, Game 3. Logan Gilbert, Jack Flaherty. That's a pivotal Game 3, obviously, in Detroit. And then Blue Jays-Yankees Game 3, as the Blue Jays try to sweep the Yankees out. Shane Bieber, Carlos Rodon, 8:08, both those games on FS1. Loyola Soccer in action tonight against Hofstra, 7 o'clock on Flow Sports. And the NHL season gets underway. Triple header on ESPN starting at 5 o'clock, Blackhawks, Panthers. Then Penguins, Rangers at 8, Avalanche, Kings at 10:30. And everything else, find at GlennClarkRadio.com. Do you have one non-sports highlight?
No.
Okay.
Chad Powers, episode of that.
Have not looked at it yet. Probably won't.
It looks fun. It
Probably.
seems fun. I started. I'm
it's
like
gotten
15
good
minutes
reviews, so there's a chance, but I'm not in a rush. Thanks today to Marvin Lewis. Thanks also to Joe Serpico and to Bo Smolka. We'll get that up in the greatest hits section of the.
It's gonna be J-Lo's on Fallon.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the program, Navy's and Eli Heidenreich, fresh off 200 receiving yards.
Is that good?
Unheard of in Navy?
Oh, like in his career?
No,
Navy. Oh,
in
what?
one game against
What?
Air Force. It's unreal. We're going to talk to Eli Heidenreich tomorrow after their big win. They go up to Temple this Saturday. Anything else?
Drew will be
Oh,
here.
good.
And so will Dan Wilcox. Well, he won't be here. But,
Okay, we'll talk to Dan Wilcox. Get his thoughts. Very good. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Game Day Men's Health, CountySports.zone, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com, 1-800-GAMBLER, helpmygamblingproblem.org, Maryland 5-Star, as well as Nick's Fish House and the Costas Inn. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Blue Jays. We're good with that? Yeah. Go Blue Jays. Duke sucks.